Susan knew she was a cowgirl at heart from a very young age. Born in Elk City, Oklahoma, and raised in Oklahoma City, she always enjoyed the outdoors and was never afraid to get her hands dirty. Even as a young girl, Susan liked to think and play outside the box, which allowed her to develop creative habits early on. Her parents, Ward and June Perry, encouraged a very active lifestyle. Susan was involved in a variety of sports, dance classes, summer camps, and was a member of the swim team throughout her childhood. She graduated from John Marshall High School in 1971. In August 1971, Susan began her college career at Oklahoma State University. She lived on campus in Wilhelm North and pledged Pi Beta Phi sorority that fall. Initially enrolling as a family relations and child development major, Susan later switched to the field of recreation management in the College of Education. Beyond academia and her involvement in sorority life, Susan was also very lucky in love during her time at OSU. On September 9, 1972, she had a blind date with a young gentleman named A.J. Jacques, who was a member of the Alpha Gamma Rho fraternity. The two were married 16 months later on January 5, 1974, in Stillwater at the First United Methodist Church. Their lives as Mr. and Mrs. A.J. Jacques began at Stillwater Patio Apartments before moving to a rental house on Blakely Street. Susan will forever be grateful to Dr. Betty Abercrombie, who she considers a guardian angel, for helping her conquer a beast that had plagued her throughout her life, math. As a result of Dr. Abercrombie's tireless efforts, Susan was able to graduate alongside her husband in 1975. Just before graduation, Susan and A.J. welcomed a small basket of joy into the world, their first child, Elizabeth Aline Jacques. 2 years later, they were blessed with the arrival of their second daughter, Jennifer Susan Jacques, born on May 25, 1977. Their family was now complete. With her family behind her, beside her, and cheering her on all the way, Susan went back to school to complete a degree in middle school science education at the age of 32. She launched her teaching career in Garden City, Kansas. She started a wilderness survival class, which allowed her to put her love of the outdoors to good use in the name of education. The class was one of Susan's favorites. She taught students how to start a fire with one match using fine steel wool, how to cook on a coffee can, and how to identify and eat healthy plants, among other things. Most of all, the girls walked away with a sense that they were strong, smart, and could accomplish anything. A few years later, the Jacques family moved back to their home state, to the town of Woodward. Susan started out teaching 7th grade before returning to what she realized was her favorite age, 6th graders. Susan's love of teaching grew immensely as she worked closely with the 6th grade teaching team. She was energized by her students' excitement and eagerness to learn. Her devotion to students both in and out of the classroom was increasingly evident and far exceeded the duties of her job. Teaching science became a lifelong passion. Her excellence in teaching was publicly recognized at many points during her career. In 1992, Susan was listed in Who's Who among America's teachers. In 1995, she received the Crystal Apple Award while teaching at Abe Hubert Middle School in Garden City, Kansas. Susan was awarded the Teacher of Today from the Masonic Fraternity of Oklahoma and was a finalist for the Woodward Education Association's Teacher of the Year in 2001. Without a doubt, Susan's life experiences influenced her teaching. In 1985, she backpacked outside of Telluride, Colorado, with a group of 5 women. 2 years later, she went on an Alaskan wilderness backpacking expedition after reading about the expedition in a magazine. The group of 14 traveled to the Brooks Range and spent a week wearing head nets and eating dehydrated food while backpacking on the tundra. She also planned backpacking trips for friends and family with the help of her good friend and guide, Catherine Hess, in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Through these adventures, Susan learned to appreciate Mother Nature and take nothing for granted in the wilderness. The trips empowered her to never quit trying new things. A new chapter in Susan's life began when she moved to Colleyville, Texas in 2001. It was the end of her time in the classroom, but the start of yet another adventure as her family began to expand. Elizabeth, Susan's first daughter, married Jim Monroe and had 2 children, Peyton and Gavin. Jennifer soon followed suit, marrying Matthew Flannery and giving birth to son Kaysen. Susan claims the Flannery's dog Harley, who she describes as a human in disguise, as a 4th grandchild. Following a few years in Colleyville, the Jacques moved to Southlake, Texas. After 10 years in Texas, it was time to return home. Susan and AJ moved back to Woodward in 2011. Susan confesses, though she does miss the shopping and the restaurants in the big city, she loves the small-town feel of Woodward and does not miss the traffic. Susan and AJ have made civic engagement a priority in their lives. Education is near and dear to Susan's heart, and her goal has always been to make a difference by influencing others to support education. Susan has extended that support to her alma mater. In addition to serving on the board for Friends of the OSU Library, Susan has been a part of the Women for OSU board and will chair the events committee in 2014 to 15. She is a member of the Woodward Chamber of Commerce board and is active in her church and many other civic projects. In 2008, Susan and AJ established 4 new endowed faculty positions in the areas of health education and promotion, literacy, special education, and counseling in the College of Education. They have also supported a scholarship named for her mentor, Dr. Betty Abercrombie, and professorships in the College of Agricultural Science and Natural Resources. When her starring roles as mom and Nana are not keeping her busy, Susan keeps herself busy with friends, traveling, working in her yard, and making more time for OSU. She considers her best friend Brenda Alexander and her husband Bobby family, but has been known to say that they do have one small flaw: their affinity for the color crimson. However, Susan claims to have Kodak proof of a few orange moments in the Alexanders' lives. Susan sees her life as an adventure, one that she would not change for anything. She is grateful that God has given her a solid foundation, a wonderful family, exceptional friends, and most of all, her best friend and biggest supporter of 40 years, her husband, AJ.